sorry.
Hold on. Case openings? Case openings? Wait.
A ton of money from
is that
hold on, it's my closing
they
thought.
actually everyone's saying they ran out of 3 because they feel it's profitable.
Yo, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 23 of the Catalyst Effect podcast. As always, I'm your host, Klaus, and with me are my co-hosts, Missy and Cryptohato. And today we have a super special guest. We have Graslo, a good friend of ours. He's coming from Uldor, an MMORPG that's coming into the space. I think all of us here have had a chance to play it. And I think we can all say we're a fan of it. It's a really cool concept, and I'm super excited to have you on the show, man. How you been? It's been a little bit since we last talked. I think the last time we talked as a group was in Boss Battles, our other show. So how you been? How's things been since then? Let's catch up a little bit. I'm super excited. So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, love being here. Big fan of the show, and of course, all of you guys individually. You guys are like the real pros of Web3 gaming. So yeah, I'm glad to be here. And yeah, things are going great. I mean, since we last talked, I mean, we were like grinding out through the bear, right? It was that time where
We were in scary hours, man.
yeah, like the casuals were like, out, they were gone, and everything was kind of quiet, but we were still here. We were grinding. And now it's a whole different market. Like everybody's excited, people are coming back. We're seeing all these, projects that were kind of silent coming out of the woodwork, and new things coming. But it's exciting because games are getting further along. We just got back from GDC, and it was like the excitement from, the prospect of new gamers coming into the space, not just for, getting bags and buying tokens or whatever, but actually like playing games. And that's what it's all about. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
Hell yeah, dude. Glad to hear it, man. Glad to hear it. And I'm glad that you guys are still grinding, and still, putting in the work into the game. You mentioned building through the bear, right? That was the time period that a lot of developing teams and just branding generals they didn't give up, but they just couldn't sustain, the costs anymore, right? And we saw it from small teams to like big teams. Like I think one that surprised everyone was Metapixel with their game, and it's really cool to see the teams have been able to stand the time of the bear, and still be here with us and still like developing their games and still putting the time and effort to make it possible, right? Whether it's looking for funding or looking for the right strategy for marketing, whatever it is, man. So props to you guys, and thanks for the flowers, by the way. Well, before we get any further, first of all, guys, happy Easters. If any of you
Happy
celebrate,
Easter, everybody.
yes, sir. Let's get some freaking claps in the chat right off the bat.
Some claps in the
Easter.
chat.
Or some bunnies, man. Drop the bunny emoji as well.
Happy Easter, Jackie. Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir. Let's go. Jackie's already in here. I see Damien in the crowd as well. But yeah, happy Easter. If you guys celebrate Easters, make sure you guys spend some time with your family. Take the time to just relax today and enjoy the day. And hopefully Monday is a great start to the new week. But yeah, let's get into it, man. Graslo, I know we've talked in the past a little bit, and I think we've known each other for quite some time now. So we know a little bit about your past, and we also talked about like the inspiration behind Uldor a lot, right? And like what your history of gaming has been, kind of like where you came from, like what games you used to be really interested in, and like kind of like what serve as an inspiration for Uldor. But for any new listeners out there, can you touch on that real quick? And then we'll get a little bit more deep into like the game itself. But can you touch a little bit on the history of Uldor and what served as an inspiration to you as a developer as you were building out Uldor?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I came from Mythic Entertainment, worked on their, number of their games, but the big one that we were known for was Dark Age of Camelot, which was an early MMO. It was kind of like this realm versus realm combat, and something that was like, it was a great concept to me for MMOs, and just that was just such a peak period for MMOs. Like we had World of Warcraft off the back of that, and I became obsessed with World of Warcraft. Spent many years playing that game, and of course I played so many MMOs since, and all of them have their own little like interesting elements that kind of feel like there's something new. But overall, the genre just kind of like failed to innovate. We saw all these new genres pop up. We saw MOBAs. Of course, a lot of casual and competitive gaming really took off, and MMOs kind of got stuck in this box where it's like if you have a lot of free time and you want to really grind out a character for a long period of time, you want to invest a lot of your time and thought process into a game, then MMOs are a good place to do that. It's about community and all that, and that's really cool, and that draws a lot of us to MMOs. But it also has like the downside of it doesn't bring in new people. It's not very welcoming to people that don't already like the genre.
Get good. It's a skill issue. Stop being fucking casual. Right, go ahead.
And yeah, I mean, it's like you don't want to water down it because that's what they tried to do, right? Like some MMOs are like, okay, we need to get these casual and competitive gamers. So they say we'll do this fast pass where you jump in and you could just skip through all the boring stuff, the leveling from 1 to 50 or 75 or whatever. But I mean, that's what gave the game so much character, and that's what like people really loved the experience, and they learned about their the world, the lore, and that's what costs so much time and money, and that's why the MMO took 5 years and $50 million or whatever. It's because of all those areas and content. But we're all just grinding through all of that as fast as we can to get to the end game, where we're all stuck on the same dungeons trying to get the same loot, and it's like that's just not a good experience. And I feel like that's where MMOs just failed to innovate. And so yeah, that was really my passion. And back in 2011, I bought Uldor.com, started like mapping out lore, game mechanics, just like what would we do different? What would be really game changing for the genre? And meanwhile, I started to get into the like Souls genres. So Dark Souls, of course, lately Elden Ring and others. And what really inspired me from these genres, similar to like MMOs, is that they're not just catering to like the easy dopamine where it's you do some easy thing and you get a reward. And like when you play mobile games, it's just like constant dopamine hits. They make it extremely easy, but we've kind of learned that has diminishing returns, and gamers start to really feel like that all games are the same, like they're all just clicking games where you just get these instant easy rewards. And sometimes you get burned out on that. You kind of want something that's more challenging, that you really have to. And that's why we like PvP, right? Because it's like
that's right,
you get matched up with somebody that's like really good, and I mean, you can't just like easily get the rewards from beating them without actually having skill.
Yeah.
So games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring were like, all right, well, you're gonna fight this boss, and there's like 100% chance you're gonna lose the first time. I mean, you're gonna have to do this over and over again.
And over.
Listen, I've been watching my young my little brother. I call him my little brother. He's my brother-in-law, but he and I are very close, and he's been playing Elden Ring a lot, and he's playing like one tap right now, and it is so sweaty, man. Holy shit!
One tap means like hardcore mode. You die in like if they hit you
one
once.
hit, yeah. So he's like maximized his build for just like pure damage, and he gets hit by any boss, he's dead. Like he's lucky to maybe get a second hit. And dude, it's crazy. Like it is so intense. Like I watch him. He's actually been streaming it. And he streams like at least Twitch. He's been streaming at least once a week. And yeah, he's been like a little following and stuff. Like he just started. He's always wanted to be a streamer, so it's cool kind of seeing him go for it. And yeah, man, he's been playing one tap on this stream and on these streams, and I saw him take like 5 hours to kill a boss the other day, and it was really fucking funny.
That is crazy, dude. That's a grind. That's a grind. Yeah. But hey, Elden Ring is a good game to build like a following around like a stream, because it's a really popular it's a really, really popular game, like Souls-like game. So that's really cool that he's doing that type of challenge. That if you give me his handle, I would love to check out his stream one day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, same here.
You get back real quick, Graslo, because you touched on the point of like MMOs failing to innovate, right? At a certain point, like almost like they couldn't pivot away from that time period, right? This is a question, I guess, to all three of you guys. Do you guys think that MMOs have gotten like a new like spotlight almost in Web3 in that regards?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure,
right?
man.
Because when I think of by the way, I'm not an MMO guy by any means, right? I've played my share like
Not
amount
yet.
of like yeah.
You're an MMO guy, man.
Well, let me
You're
tell
an
you.
MMO
I
guy.
mean,
You just don't know it yet.
Web3, I will say this: Web3 has gotten me way more into MMOs, right? And also, I would say as I faded away from like the competitive side of gaming, right? Like I was obviously playing competitively in FPS, right, in shooter games. As I faded away from that and retired from that scene, I started opening a lot more to like MMOs and other types of games, right? Just because I had the time to play them. But Web3 really catapulted my experience with MMOs a lot. You
The
know, and
thing,
like games like Uldor, right? Like I played Uldor very, very early on, and you saw my
yeah, the thing
streams
about
back in
MMOs, the thing
Graslo.
about MMOs is like they're actually very sweaty. At least the earlier ones. It's these newer ones that are so fucking casual, right? Like the older shit, man, it is so intense. The PvP mode, like I gotta show you like the old WoW clips. Like this was I didn't call it esports at the time. We didn't know what the fuck esports was, right? Like we were just like competitive gaming or PvP gaming. But when you actually like break it down and you're like, oh, when I got older, I was like, no, that was esports. We just didn't. It was too early. We didn't call it that yet, dude. It's so sweaty. Like that's what I'm saying. You're not an MMO player now because by the time you got into it, it was so soft, bro. But like if you had been there when the peak, you definitely would have been into it because holy shit, it was really fucking competitive. And
Well,
I hope we
yeah.
get a game like that in Web3 because it would be
It's
really
coming
cool.
back.
It's
Yeah.
definitely gonna. I definitely see it. I definitely see a lot of titles coming out to that point. You get me? And like to be fair to your point, right? I didn't get a chance to get into that peak that you're mentioning because I was in
Yeah.
the peak of shooters, right? So it's really hard. I feel like our generation in particular, and I'm a little bit older than you, Missy. So I guess like both of
Yeah.
our generations, right? So like the amount of game titles that we were getting at that time, it was
It was
almost
overwhelming, man.
yeah, it was almost impossible to choose what you got to put your time into it, right? And you got to understand, I wasn't just playing casually. I was okay. I'm gonna get a game and I'm gonna put 12 hours plus every single day,
Yep.
you know, to freaking be the best in the world at this
Same.
game.
That's
Right?
exactly how I played. That's exactly
Exactly.
how I
So
played. Wow.
when you grind
Yeah.
like that, it's really hard to be able to grind in two different genres, especially one like MMO, which takes so much understanding and grinding and just like you know, like you have to be really into it. But real quick, let me say some shout outs real quick to the chat because we have our man Doug Hype in the chat. He says, "Hello, my little wabbits. He's in the Easter spirit. What's up, Doug? Man, I
Hey,
hope
let's
you're having
go.
a
What's up,
great
Dougie
Sunday."
Doug?
I hope you're having a great Sunday, man. We have JRP saying good morning at breakfast with the fam, but want to say what up, yo, JRP.
What up?
Good
What
morning, my
up?
brother, and happy Easter, bro. Are you in the U.S.? Like, how is the morning for you? I don't know. Maybe he's in Mexico.
Went back to
he's in
California.
a different galaxy, man. He's in a
Yeah,
different
he's ahead of
galaxy.
time, bro. He's in the future. And
One's
then we
always
have
on
our
the move.
man Blue Mojo just shouting out Uldor. Let's fucking go, man. Uldor is like I said, man, a very, very special title. One of the early on which, by the way, crazy that you mentioned, Graslo, that you got that domain in 2011, man. That's like 13 years ago.
This man was planning ahead, bro.
Yeah, that talk about innovation, man. That's crazy to have that vision so early on, and now you're like materializing it, right? You're like bringing it to life, and you know it's really cool, man. That's really awesome. I guess let's get more into now like Uldor in general, right? Like, so obviously you guys came on Boss Battle. I think anybody that's a fan of that show got to know a lot about Uldor, and they got to see get some alpha of what's upcoming and stuff like that.
And
Now,
watch us get rugged a zillion fucking times.
bro, that's right. That was that epic.
We got rugged so many times, bro.
Well, it's good that Twitter has fixed all of those issues, though. We don't have issues.
Kind of.
Yeah.
We're getting there, man. We're getting there.
Yo,
But don't
this guy got jokes.
listen. We're live right now. Don't let Elon hear us. All right, he's gonna start rugging us
Bring
here
it
too.
fired.
Like, yeah. No, but so obviously it's been a few months since then, right? What has been the biggest change to Uldor, or not even like in the game itself, but like focus wise, right? Like, what are you guys majorly focusing on? Like, what are you looking to execute as we're approaching Q2 in the year? You know, catch us up a little bit on what's been going on since we last saw you on Boss Battle.
Yeah, so appreciate all the support from everybody. You know, you guys in the chat, everybody. We put out the Dread Arena early on, and love the Dread Arena. It was like a nice demo mode. It showed off like our early combat. We use like placeholder characters and some environments, but you know, our goal was the next big launch and our first commercial launch where we can actually start promoting it to mainstream gamers was going to be our PvP arena. And that's what we've been working on.
PvP, baby. All right, sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No. I mean, we're really excited to roll out PvP because that's where we start drawing in a whole new crowd. A lot of people, they played the wave-based mode, and it's like, okay, this is interesting, but I want this to be an MMO, or I want this to be PvP, or co-op or something. And we really want that next mode to be PvP, and we're really excited for that. And it's coming, so that's what we're working on. And I'll tell you the thing that we're going to be showing off. We're going to be showing off something in the next week. So this week, we're going to be doing a big reveal. And one thing that we've been really focused on is our custom characters. Early on, 2021, we were planning to use metahuman characters. That's something that Epic Games, they created metahumans. They're these like high fidelity, realistic characters, and they're free to use with Unreal Engine. So we were using those early on. We experimented with them, but we found them really difficult to optimize for multiplayer. So when we did our PvP testing with metahumans, we just ran into a lot of trouble, and they're not super customizable. So there were issues. And we worked on like our own solution for this. Like, how can we have extremely high quality characters that could be playable in multiplayer, to where, we could have these, not just in like PvP where you've got, 5v5, like team deathmatch style match, but like in the MMO, because we're building very strategically. Everything we do, we're thinking about the end goal, which is an open world, persistent server MMO. And so we test optimization, and we kind of do this backwards from a lot of teams. I meet a lot of devs where they try to make everything look amazing at the start, and then they try to optimize, but they run into all these problems, and that's why you see things in early gameplay trailers that never make it into the game, because they were overly ambitious. We kind of do it backwards from that. Like we test everything and stress test it and optimize it as much as we can on the front end, so that anything we show off, we know is going to make it in the game.
Should I get strength, health, or stamina, or Graslo? Can you give me some alpha here? What do you think is best?
Wait, what? Where are your choices?
Strength, health, or stamina? I'm running the
Stamina, brother. Stamina, brother. Always.
All right, cool.
Until you get a better weapon. Trust.
Yeah.
But wait, guys, so real quick, and I didn't mean to cut you off on your beautiful point that you were making, but do we still have the same weapon choices as the last build that we made of?
Yes. But so we have 4 characters, and each character has different weapon choices for upgrades. Yeah.
Cool. And real quick, to touch on what you were mentioning about the custom characters that are upcoming, right? Because I think that's going to be really, really cool to have integrated into the game, right? When you say custom characters, are players going to be able to have the ability to start creating their own characters with like their own stats and like different combinations of like what's that called, like attributes and stuff like that? Or is it like presets that are gonna come that are already built through Unreal Engine?
So we're going to be revealing a character creator where you can make a custom character. And we've been working to make this extremely customizable, to where we have one of the better character creators in any game, and I put us right up there with AAA games. So
let's go. Yeah. You heard that? The best character creator than any game. Let's fucking go. Good morning to you, Mrs. Bones. I just want to shout her out real quick. Appreciate you for coming by as always. Always grateful for your support.
Let's go, Mrs. Bone. Thank you for being here. No, Graslo, dude. First of all,
should I go for health or clean sweep, guys?
That's a good health stat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
But I like how now it's color graded into like the high.
Yeah, man, it looks fucking amazing.
Really fucking.
To be honest.
But real quick, going back to what you said, I agree with you, man. I think you guys can definitely compete with AAA, products out there. I think it's awesome that you guys are thinking into integrating a customizable character feature, because that just brings more UGC into the game, right? And players being involved, like being able to create. Like what I love about Uldor is that it's very easy to put into like a leaderboard or like tower climb type of game loop, right? And then if you're using custom characters and custom strategies and stuff like that, like you're going to be able to, people are going to be able to see that, right? If you're number 1 in the leaderboard with this type of character that you're using, that's going to get more players to be involved and say, okay, how can I make a build that beats that? Or like, how can I get to that level, right? So really cool that you guys are thinking about that, man. So continue talking a little bit more about the optimizing side of things, right? I think that's a big issue that a lot of games run into the space into the space, right? I was just trying to play Last Remain. They just open up their tests again, and I cannot get it to work, man. It was just like not connecting to any games. I don't know if it was a server issue or optimization, but can you touch a little bit on how you guys are tackling that with Uldor?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's experience too, and just you have small teams that are both inexperienced and also don't have the time to really like plan ahead and test things properly. And that's not to say anything bad about anybody. It's just this space is very immature, so we have a lot of teams that are very scrappy, and that's great because you need that. And we are very scrappy too, but we are really prioritizing the testing and optimization for the long term. Now there are certain things that like we'll not fully test, like we haven't, some of our environments aren't super optimized yet because there's a lot of work that goes into that, and some of those are still kind of placeholder assets. So and we've seen like it's been interesting seeing what some of our fellow Web3 games are doing, like Shrapnel, for example. They put out a lot of environments that are just kind of like gray box. It's like without textures, and that's great from an optimization standpoint, but it makes for bad like content because people see that, and if they don't kind of understand game development, they think that the game doesn't look very polished. So yeah, it's just a different way to do things.
Yeah, it's definitely not very exciting for people.
Well,
Yeah.
I have a question on that point. If you're still having optimization issues with those non-textured assets, what is that about? Like, because I have no idea what it's going into, like game design and stuff and resource power and all that. I don't know how that works. So if you could explain that part too, that'd be great.
Yeah, so it could be everything. Like when we loaded in, so we had a 3D artist, one of our early artists that did a bunch of weapons for us. And when we loaded those weapons in, they were so high poly, so they had so many triangles that it created a bunch of lag. So like you don't really think about, like, you've optimized the environment, you've optimized the characters, but like the sword that they're holding is like causing all this load. And it's something that is hard for people to grasp if you're not like really in the trenches of game development. And then you just really have to like diagnose all of those issues. And there's, with Unreal Engine 5, there's so many things to think about because they've introduced new automatic optimization for lighting called Lumen. But you need a certain like threshold of GPU before you can really take advantage of Lumen. And the same with Nanite. So like Nanite has a high CPU load, but like for a huge environment with a lot of detail, Nanite can give you incredible optimization. But like certain CPU GPU combinations, they're gonna have a way worse time with these new optimization features. And then depending on your artist background, like if they're making environments, maybe they're not compatible with Nanite and Lumen. So it's like there's a lot that goes into it that gets really complicated. I feel like that even in AA and AAA game development, this is something that people are still kind of struggling with because you have so many optimizations and innovations coming from like Epic, and at the same time, GPUs, like not everybody's on the same kind of generation GPU, and so trying to like make a game that's backwards compatible. Like I've seen games that use Nanite and Lumen for certain generation setups, and then kind of like use a different strategy, but that's really complicated to pull off. And I'll just throw this out here too. When you think about AAA game devs, you think these guys are like experts. They know how to do everything, but they mostly work in proprietary engines. A lot of AAA games use their own custom engines, and they're not really using what Unreal's using or what Unity's doing. And so sometimes they don't understand the new features. And so when they start working on a project that's building in Unreal or Unity, they struggle with some of these basic kind of features because they're so used to how things work in the custom engines that they've been building on.
Dude, that's a great topic that you brought up, right? Because that's the part I feel like us from like a consumer point of view, right? Like the gamers, for example, don't know about, or like we just completely forget or disregard it, right, when we're like either criticizing or looking at these games or projects, right? Because what you mentioned, like the experience counts a lot, right? Like knowing all these things and like what type of integrations are going to work with like compatibility of like this optimization softwares and stuff like that, right? It's what makes the path of development and execution, right, for a game stay on track, right? And not take like 5-6 years longer just because you have to backtrack and now like find ways to optimize all this like things that you already created, right? All these assets you already created, just so that you can get it in the hands of people, right? Because if only 5 people can play your game, then that's a big issue, right? You're never gonna get the daily active users that your game needs to survive, basically, right? And stay popular enough for you to generate the revenue you need to continue making another title or continue updating it or whatever it is, right? So I have a question for you guys though, because you touched on also like what you said earlier about shrapnel, right? And like them uh being attacking optimization by leaving out certain like textures and parts of the maps and the environment, like kind of like not developed right to the full capacity so that it can help with that optimization. Do you guys think that gamers care about graphics enough, or more about the experience they're having inside the game, right? Because I think of games like
I care
Battlefield, for
about
example.
graphics personally.
Well, hold on, let me finish the thought, right? Like, because my second question is, do you think that it has to do with the way you market your game and the type of like a crowd that you're trying to approach, right? Like
Nah,
if you market it
I
as a
hate
triple
shitty
A.
graphics personally.
Well, the only reason I'm asking is because a game like Battlefield doesn't have the best graphics or textures, but they have a
And I,
massive DAU.
Let
You know,
me
yeah, and
so
I didn't play it though. Like the question was like, for me personally, if the graphics suck, I'm not playing it.
I
Well, I'm
feel
gonna
that, yeah,
I'm gonna answer this question in general. People
yeah.
don't care about the graphics; they care about the aesthetic, and they care about like how it integrates in the gameplay. Because if you ask any normal gamer, the reason why they play the game isn't per. I wouldn't say it's per se the graphics. It would be just the aesthetic of what it's bringing to the table and how that's affecting your gameplay. So, for instance, a lot of people play Valorant because not because of like the way it looks or the graphics or stuff. They play it because of the characters and how they integrate their abilities, and that's how you can like do different team comps or whatever. That's really the sauce behind those kind of games. It's like
I don't
all these
know,
Well, I mean,
man.
characters are built for
we,
I
we
think
play a game like
we don't count how much graphics actually impact the game because, like, I remember in 2004 when we fired up WoW, we were like, "Holy shit, these graphics are amazing." They kind of sucked after a
right,
while, but
but
like, and then
yeah,
when you
but
play Final Fantasy, the Final Fantasy MMO, same kind of thing. Like,
I
graphics
definitely,
matter.
I
yeah,
definitely
but
agree with you. I think
I
graphics matters too,
Yeah,
depending. Like if it's a triple A game, I expect it to have high graphics. You
yeah.
get
Like
me? But we
everyone
all,
in this industry is always saying graphics doesn't matter. They matter, in
well,
my
I mean,
opinion.
look, the way I look at it is like we all play a game like Mighty Action Heroes. So it's not a super high graphic game, but we all have fun and enjoy the game in it. You know, like so
yeah.
they do matter to a certain point, but I don't think is in a general mass capacity from users. I don't think it's the end game. You know, like
Well,
the only thing that matters. But Graslo, what about from your point of view, man? Because you're obviously behind the scene. You're developing the product. What's your take on that?
Well, I think that you definitely have to make the core gameplay fun. Like it has to be fun gameplay. But I'm personally on the side of like good graphics draw my attention. I love, beautiful games. I'm not one that typically plays like pixel art games, but I mean, there's a huge segment of people that they don't care about graphics. That's what they play. And so you have to, really focus on the gameplay first because that is how you keep users. But I will say, good graphics get attention. Even like pixel art games, you'll see them have a epic cinematic trailer. It's like you see this amazing trailer and you find out it's like some puzzle game or something. It's like, what happened to the like 3D characters running around and it's like it looked like a movie. But I mean, it gets our attention. It gets us looking up the game and talking about it. But if you want players to actually stay and retain them, like the gameplay experience has to be great.
Well, I
Yeah,
just
I,
want to
I
draw
agree. I
back
agree.
to some experiences that I've had, and also I've seen on Twitch where people are playing these very very low resolution type of games. They look like they're PlayStation games almost, but there's like a certain horror genre that people are playing, and like you see all these flock of people play this, play this, play this, because all these people have played it. They want their favorite streamer to play it, and now these games are being broadcast to a wide audience. And these are games that are very minimal, but they're aesthetically pleasing and they have like a story to tell and play through. And those kind of games I think have like interesting shelf life because at surface value, you play the game, you're done. But it's kind of a cult classic, like watching a movie because you're sharing that.
I agree. I agree. Like I understand that, for example, everybody's gonna. Some people like pineapple pizza. Some people don't like pineapple pizza. Some people like burgers. Some people.
That's the
Some
worst.
people don't like burgers. You know, shout out Damien. He likes pineapple pizza. He's weird. But you know, ultimately, the reason I'm against crappy graphics, and yeah, your point, Clouds, Mighty Action Heroes. I only play Mighty Action Heroes if we're playing it as a squad. Like I will never, to be honest, I don't go out of my way to play Mighty Action Heroes. I like good graphics. The reason I like good graphics is because they push innovation forward. You have to work harder to have good graphics. You have to optimize more to have good graphics. Like I feel like a lot of people will purposely go and now do less work. Maybe they create a cool game loop, but they'll do less work to then say, oh yeah, like this is a nostalgic thing. Like in this industry, there's so many weird cash grabs and there's so many weird scammers that you almost need good graphics in order, in my opinion, to see who's really trying to build for a longer term. That's my opinion.
I don't know, man. Listen, I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on the fact that visually speaking, I'm more attractive to high graphic games, right?
Like, why would I want to play a game I feel like
listen,
I've seen a million
I was
times?
early adopters of high graphic games here in Web3 that didn't go anywhere just because they didn't even have a concept of how to get to that level of achieving that high level graphic, right?
Then that's what I'm saying. Skill issue. Get out.
Well, but you said that high graphic level, like
I think it's harder to achieve. It's harder to achieve. Is my point. Like, how many people are just gonna phone it in? Like, why are we trying to?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, deliver a quick product just to get like.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, it's not saying that. Like, there's some games that genuinely are trying to build a really good game, and that's their vibe. But how many people are just trying to like, essentially scam their way because they can deliver on lower quality graphics? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, for me, anytime I see crappy graphics, I'm kind of like, all right, like what yeah, like
I think the
what
bar
are you
is
really
getting
trying
smaller
to
and
do
smaller.
here?
I think it's getting smaller and smaller when it comes to like high fidelity visuals. Like everyone's turning that out today, and it's easy. It's even easier than before with Unreal 5, right? I'm not saying it's easy at just like mass capacity.
Bro, we're at Unreal
easier.
69 at this point, man. With these Unreals, they're just coming out like every fucking.
But there's templates out there. There's templates out there people can reskin and just throw out whatever.
Point real quick. Let's go ahead and move on from this point real quick. I want to get back into Uldor for a second, but before we do, let me shout out some comments. I see my boy Kobe in the chat. Man, Kobe was also one of the early testers that I remember playing Uldor back, in 2022, late 2022, early 23. So shout outs to him, man. That's a guy right there, man. We see Jackie was saying, well, the graphics is the first thing you see in a game. I agree with that. Like, visuals matters. Definitely, it's the first impressions that you get from a game. So I can stand behind that. And Damien is just laughing about the fact that he likes pineapple pieces.
He likes pineapple, man. He likes pineapple.
I can never get behind that, man. I'm sorry, Damien, that you feel that way, bro. Not on pizza for sure. Yo, guys, but anyways, if you're here, thank you so much. We do have a special surprise later on that Missy's gonna get into, so definitely stick around.
Yeah, but before I drop the surprise, I'm gonna need some likes, some retweets. Come on, let's get this out there.
Sure. Let's get more people in here.
If I'm not feeling the energy, I'm not dropping the surprise. Just gonna be honest.
Bro, guys, trust me, you guys want this one, man.
I'm just saying, like we need that energy in here. Like the chat's been popping, I can't complain, but we need more passion, we need more energy, we need more footwork. You already know the vibes. Get in here.
All right, guys. You heard the mission. Start retweeting, start liking the space, the stream. Let's get the word out there, man. We're talking about Uldor with Graslo, so it's a good vibe in here. But Graslo, man, you mentioned that you guys just came back from GTC, right? What was your take on GTC? I mean, I saw a lot of people out there. Those stuff, those events always get super packed, and it's definitely a good way to network.
Yeah,
but what was your
the Gamers Dork Conference? All right, go ahead.
But anyway, what was your biggest takeaway in the terms of like, obviously, you guys went to events last year, right? Like, what was the difference, right? Like, what was the biggest accomplishment from this year at GTC from your experience last year, or any event that you went to last year?
Yeah, so last year it was like peak bear market. It was a rough time, and so there was a lot of kind of we're here, but not necessarily hopeful for the future. It's just a lot of kind of things were down. Like I went to NFT NYC, the crowds were light. Everybody kind of thought that, you know, momentum had dropped a lot. Gaming definitely had a presence. Of course, the Immutable booth was really big. You know, I played a lot of Web3 games there, talked to a lot of teams, investors, but you know, there was just a lot of activity going on. But when we went to GDC, I mean, it flipped the script completely. So Web3 is like on fire. Everybody is super optimistic. There's so much energy. You know, the Avalanche booth was like out front. Arbitrum had a big booth. Parallel, you know, the Blockchain Game Alliance. So many of these drawing in like so much curiosity. I mean, it was drawing attention, and you just felt it. Like when you talk to Web3 people, they were excited. When I talked to Web2 developers, you know, a lot of them were complaining, worried about the job market. I talked to numerous people, especially like project managers that were like out of work, looking for jobs. You know, they were at GDC just to meet people and try to land a gig because, you know, we're on the back of this like massive game dev or game industry layoffs. Whereas in Web3, every team is hiring. Like pretty much every Web3 gaming team is hiring for almost all roles.
Web 2 gaming bear market, Web 3 gaming bull market. Interesting.
Yeah. And that was really exciting. And of course, I got to meet a lot of content creators, like Web3 content creators that I look up to. Of course, Doug on the audience, you know, quite a few just like amazing people. Like, I mean, what I love about meeting people at these events is so many people, like pretty much everybody I've met is just as genuine and awesome in person as they are online. You know, you don't meet people and go, wow, you know, this guy is actually an asshole. You know, it's like, I mean, these people are actually like really cool. So yeah, can't wait to meet all you guys in person.
Yeah, don't be an asshole. We're gonna roast you on this show. So
Yeah,
you better
dude,
come correct, man.
There's no reason. There's no reason, man. No, but I agree with that, man. I was saying 2022, I went to a share amount of like events, like not conference, but like you know, like events like pop-ups for like NFTs and stuff like that, right? And I never met anyone that I was like, yeah, that guy freaking, you know, that was a pain in the ass to talk to, right? Like, or anything like that. I feel like everybody's excited. Everybody still has the butterflies in their bellies, you know, type of thing.
I feel like if I met JRP, I'd feel that way.
Yeah, I got to meet JRP. He's
this asshole, man.
Man, that guy was such a pain in the ass to talk to. Nah, man, JRP is the homie, bro.
Yeah, he's awesome.
JRP is the homie. Man.
But I will say, like, one of the great things, like, I hate it for like Web2 game devs that are looking for work and everything, and that the mood is so depressed. But we've been hiring since 2021. Like, we're very selective, but we're like always talking to developers, talking to artists, and trying to add like really good talent to our team. And in 2021, it was tough. When we talked to a talented dev and they found out that we have anything to do with blockchain, it's like, yeah, that's a scam. I don't want anything to do with it, you know. But now when you talk to game devs, they are much more accepting, much more interested. They want to have that conversation, or maybe it's not an issue anymore, you know. And it basically means, from my perspective, we're getting more talent in the space. Like, you know, more like traditional game dev talent. And that means more experienced teams, you know, so all these issues that we've kind of complained about from inexperienced, you know, scrappy Web3 teams, I think that those are getting solved by, you know, us being able to hire like, you know, really talented people from Web2 and integrate them into a solid Web3 team.
I definitely see how that's adding into, you know, like the trustability, right? And shifting the perception of what you mentioned, like, oh, like NFTs or like blockchain, now that's a scam, right? Like, it's definitely helping with that sense of the space. What I would like to see is that if they are doing that, which I praise, by the way, right? I definitely respect any developer that comes from the traditional market that's doing it the right way, right? And like, they've been building awesome products since the dawn of time, right? But when they do come into a Web3 team, what I would like to see consistently is that they adapt and start implementing the culture that we're building here, right? And
that's damn right.
Yeah,
damn right.
Because what you mentioned earlier, right? Like, when you talk to a Web3 developer or like a team, they're happy, they're excited to innovate, to find the newness thing that's going to bring gamers like, you know, like a great experience, right? And you don't get that from Web2 developers.
Yeah,
and there's
man.
a reason behind that, right? Like, there's definitely a reason behind that. So,
and it's something that I've noticed, right? Where all these developers, they come into Web3, and there's no offense to anyone, but they come into Web3 And then they try like rewriting the rules, right? They try all of a sudden they have their own demands and oh, this is how it needs to be, or we don't like how this is going. They act like they're coming in to mix it up, and it's like, man, this is how like you're the newbie around here, man. Like that shit don't matter. Like I'm sorry to say, but you gotta play on these streets, not try to rechange how it works.
And in the last cycle, we saw some extractive teams where it's like it's a totally Web2 team. They see what's happening over here. They're like, oh, I can sell these like worthless digital assets for millions of dollars. We'll just go make a Web3 game. And then as soon as it's not convenient anymore, they just go, okay, we're pivoting back to Web2.
Yep. Yeah, and we saw a lot of teams completely remove all of their blockchain integrations from their games, right? Like, and oh no, like now we're gearing more into the traditional market. We want to, and the excuse they gave us, like, we want to make it easier to consumers, right? We want gamers to come in and be able to grab these games and not worry about anything else. So it's like, yeah, you can figure out how to do that and still maintain the Web3 culture within your game, right? Like,
it's like the biggest rug that's technically not a rug, but it's such a rug, right? Like all these guys that all of a sudden, like, let me go fundraise my game in Web3 and then tell them to fuck off.
Yes, it's interesting, man. Yeah.
And to me, like anytime I'm talking to a Web2 centric dev, because the beauty of this industry, as we always say, is we get to talk to everyone. And as soon as I tell them, I'm like, yo, don't be a fucking normie. I'm just letting you know now, like you're not gonna make it around here if you are. Humble yourself, understand that you're basically starting over. And you'll go a lot further. Some people take the advice, some people don't. And the people that take the advice are always like definitely steps ahead of the others.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Like if you wanna, be, I don't want to say accepted, but if you want to just be part of the community of in Web3, like part of like what we're trying to build here and stuff, the quickest way to adopt the technology, adopt the culture that we're building and learn it, right? And apply it quickly. So if you can do that, then you can skip a lot of time, and save yourself some time there with like not getting like the backlash, not getting the FUD into whatever you're building, right? But if you stay away from that and you try to bring what you were doing in the traditional market in here, and I haven't seen it done successfully yet. So, like I don't know, that has to stand for something. But
there's a reason the games with the highest daily active users are usually the most crypto leaning.
Yeah.
I feel like you need a Web3 degen at the helm. You can have a Web2 team, but the mission has to be like community focused. You've got to be thinking about this innovative kind of like everything we're building here, because otherwise you don't have the right kind of intention going in.
Yeah, a lot of them treated it like Kickstarter 2.0, but it wasn't like that at all. Like you get way more rights and way more into the efforts of the company or organization that we were building in this sector. And in Kickstarter, you really don't get that much. You might get a refund if they, they fuck off, but still.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But anyways, kicking it back to the topic, it's really interesting to see like the perception from a developer into like this type of events and stuff. Because I've always looked at these events, I'm like, man, from my point of view, right? Like I'm a content creator. So if I ever attend one of these events, I'm going there mainly to network, meet cool people like yourself, right, in real life. And my main focus when I'm out there is just creating content, right? Like I'm trying to create as much content as possible, as much entertainment as possible to showcase that in our space, right? Because we're desperately in need of that, right? We need to, like, I remember when I used to see like TwitchCon or something like that on YouTube, there would be so many creators like making blogs or like IRL streams or whatever it was around that, right? Like just promoting it and like putting it in the space. So I think we should definitely start concentrating on the same thing as creators. So if you're a creator that's attending multiple events throughout the year, don't just focus on the networking part, also focus on the content side too. That's my
in my opinion, like I don't know. I understand the value of conferences, obviously for developers, right? I understand the value of conferences if you're an org, if you're running some sort of company. In my opinion, if you're a creator and you're really like your network, and let's say you're a standalone creator, like in our case, it makes sense. Man, just create the content that gets attention. Like how much money you're gonna spend to go to GDC? Like 5Gs, like all together.
That's why you get sponsored to go.
Yeah, but like take the 5Gs and make a viral video, man. Like you'll go further than whatever the fuck you were gonna do at GDC. That's just my opinion. Like, specifically to content creators. If you invest $5,000 into a video, you're gonna get way more traction than you were gonna get shaking hands at GDC and being hungry half the time.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your point. I'll leave it more like based on the type of creator that everyone is. You know, like not everybody. I've met creators that have great ideas and they can talk about the great idea, but when it comes down to like they spend all this money and stuff on equipment and then they don't even know how to start. You know, and then it ends up flopping and they just wasted all that money too. So what I meant by it is that if you do get the opportunity to attend one of these events, right, whether it's through a sponsor or you yourself like treated yourself and went out there, at least make the most out of it by creating some dope content that could be entertaining, right? And that's where you as a creator have to be creative and come up with ideas that could lead to going viral, like Missy's saying, right? Like, but I don't know, like
that content that you get from there could be viral too, by the way. Just
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's up to the creator to create that viral moment or like that trend, or like, you know, that's gonna come with creativity, man. Like, if you look at somebody like PewDiePie, right, who was at a time the biggest YouTube creator in the world, right? Like, and that guy was making phone content in Switzerland with a phone. You get me? Like, he wasn't doing anything special, but he went viral as hell. So,
And
you know,
one tip
PewDiePie's
for
a legend,
creators.
man.
One tip for creators, because I feel like that this wasn't really planned much this time at GDC, and some creators like this is what they did, but I feel like that there was more opportunity for this. But look at who has booths at an event and hit them up for sponsorships, because they have to hire people to go represent them at the booths. And they have like all the Web3 companies. I mean, there were half a dozen or more booths at GDC, and Avalanche, like, they had creators, but in Arbitrum, but like, I mean, every booth, like Parallel, I don't know if they had creators that like they sponsored, but they had people at their booth talking about their game. And those are opportunities where you can hang out at the booth, create some content, and then you have time at the conference to do other content. So to all of your point, like, I mean, yeah, make it a opportunity. You can network, create content, but also do it on the dime of some game or like an L1, L2.
And if you're an adult, find all the after hour spots, because those are the best parties. Just saying.
Man, I just got fucked up. Did you guys see that? Damn.
yeah, man. Wave 10, you're getting up there though. It's improving.
Oof.
It's improving. So going back to the game a little bit, Graslo, right? So like I want to move away from like the conference side of things, right? Let's talk about PvP a little bit more, right? Because we talked about like obviously like the customizer that's coming on, right? But when it comes to PvP, because every time I look at Uldor, obviously right now what we have is the arena, right? And which, by the way, looks awesome from the last time I played it. I haven't played this build yet, which I will be doing soon. But when I think of
Yeah, it
Uldor,
looks fucking amazing, dude.
yeah, I love this new bridge thing. I also feel like it's bigger, so there's like
Yeah,
more
and
time between the enemies getting to you, which was crazy.
I turned down the graphics by a lot so that it could like go better on stream.
Yeah,
man, you should see it. Like when I first turned it on, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, see, I back to the graphic comment. Like, it got me way more excited then.
No, yeah, Uldor's graphics have always gotten me excited. But let me ask you something real quick, Graslo, before I get into the PvP conversation. For for a homie like me that visually I need some help, man. Are we gonna get some more light in the arena? Because sometimes it gets a little dark in there, and I have my brightness maxed out, and I'm still like squinting like an old man over here sometimes.
Yeah, so far most of the PvP maps are like outdoors, well lit.
Yeah.
We do have a couple with like some kind of underground and indoor areas where there's a little dark. It's like candlelight and everything. So yeah, I mean there'll be opportunities for that, but for the most part they're like outdoors.
What I will say,
a personal thing for me, man, because I love the arena. By the way, I love the whole like darkness, like gloomy, like very like you can tell you're in a dungeon type of situation, But
what I will say is, I got a peek yesterday when I was talking to Graslo. I'm not gonna say much, but yeah, the lighting is not an issue, bro. It is. Man, I want to play it so bad. Yeah, the lighting's not an issue at all. It looks beautiful.
No, that's awesome, dude. Like I said, I've always loved the graphics that you guys have been able to maintain in the game. But going back to the PvP arena, right? Because like I said, when people think of Uldor, they think of the arena right here. But we also forget that it's gonna be a whole open world like MMO game, right? Like it's not just gonna be this. But in the PvP arena, are we gonna get more characters already made, like that are going to be unlocked, or is it gonna be the customizer that's gonna come on with the PvP arena so players can create their own players? And then is it gonna follow the same type of model that it goes here in the Dread arena, right? Where you have like stats that pop up that you can choose from health, speed, like stamina, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, so in the PvP arena, you'll be able to create your own custom character. The way that you like kind of optimize your character is picking your class. And when you pick a class, so like let's say you're a warrior or maybe an assassin, assassin will use dual daggers and do, swifter attacks, backstab, other special abilities like that. And so you wear different armors based on your class. You have different stats, and you'll be able to collect different weapons that will make you more effective at that class. And so that's going to be like the main meta, is figuring out which class you like, optimizing for the certain abilities that you like to play as, and then getting weapons and armor that really fit that makeup. So we don't have the wave base where like you get the stats pop up. It's more, like your class is set from the start, and so when you play, like it's really all about that mode, like a team deathmatch or like a domination kind of mode. We are experimenting with other game modes, but we don't have much to say about those yet.
Oh, dude, I just love the idea that you guys are thinking of different game modes. That's gonna be a lot of fun. It reminds me of
okay. So is in the conversation, is a Warsong Gold style thing in the conversation at
like
all?
what type of style you said?
Warsong Gulch. It's capture the flag essentially. It's like a really iconic PvP mode in WoW. Like,
yeah, I mean that's something that honestly I think about personally a lot, because I've played tons and tons of Warsong Gulch. We want, if we do that, we want to do it our own take. But I'll tell you, there's another mode that I'm more excited about. That is, it has a similar kind of vibe to that, but it hasn't been done before. So
okay. All right,
I'm
let's go.
interested in that. I play a lot of For Honor when it first came out. I don't know if you guys remember that game. And they had like an open world type of, like, I would say it's like similar to Domination, where you just had like 3 teams and you had like this towers that you had to like defend or like capture and stuff like that. So I'm super excited for that type of game mode, man.
Should I stick with the katana or go dual scimitars?
Dual scimitars, man.
Right.
Dual weapons are. Wait, what character do you have? Oh wait, no.
The
Oh wait, the samurai. That might be good actually.
Well, let's
no, the katana is the move for the samurai.
You have good reach with this though. Like you really go forward with those.
I thought he was using the female character, which does really well with dual weapons.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
Anyways.
I mean, I fully intend to die again anyway.
Dude. Oh well, speaking of, so for the PvP arena, right? Are we gonna have like a leaderboard tracker type of thing where we can track like our wins, our losses? Is there gonna be like a party system, right, where we can like easily mash together? What are the plans for that type of mechanics?
Yeah, it's gonna be very social. Definitely party system where you can join with your friends. We'll of course have matchmaking, and then leaderboards based on like not just the match that you're in, but also leaderboards that are beyond that. So like when you play like ranked modes, you'll be able to see like how you progress against other players in ranked modes, and there will be certain rewards for doing that. So yeah, really excited to like get more people in there and start like getting the feedback from that.
Oh, dude, I'm looking forward to it.
I can't fucking wait.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. That sounds really exciting and really cool. I'm definitely gonna be playing it pretty often for sure.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, that was a sweet combo, man. Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's awesome. And when is the PvP coming out, by the way? Like, is there any news on that yet, or like you guys still thinking about the date?
So we will be having a playtest at some point this quarter. We are getting very close to that, but there's a lot of like moving parts that are both development focused and also just some other things that are kind of moving parts that like with partnerships and fundraising and things like that all are going to line up together. So the timing isn't exact yet, but we're very close. Like on the development side, like we're making tons of progress. We focus. This is something that we did different than a lot of teams. Which if we had to do over in 2021, we probably would have done this differently. But I think that we made the right decision long term. And we've always focused more on the product. Like let's make an amazing game. Let's not go for the hype. Let's not go for like put out something where we get a lot of attention and like get some investment or whatever, but don't actually have anything to let people play and experience. Now a lot of people went a different route, and they raised a ton of money. We still haven't seen any gameplay, and it's been like years since they've raised. We were out there with gameplay and playable modes like early before anything. So but we think that it worked out in the end because the market's back. We certainly have a lot of excitement coming our way, and of course we've built relationships with you guys, tons of amazing creators in the space, and I felt like we've been through the trenches with you guys. So yeah, I'm excited that we're on the other side of that.
Dude, I can definitely back that
Yeah,
up.
we've definitely all been in the trenches together. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, I can definitely back that up. And like I said earlier, like you mentioned, right? Like it's not always like beneficial to raise a lot of money and get investors in both if you don't have a path on how to achieve that product, right? Because then you're just adding pressure into your team, right? Because those BCs are gonna be like, hey, when is this coming out, right? Like when are we gonna start like getting that money back or whatever it is, like like that they're expecting. So you're just adding more pressure, and then that's how things start falling apart, right? So again, man, I give you guys a lot of flowers at the way that you guys are, developing Uldor. So definitely looking forward for all the things that are upcoming. Now, when you mentioned that you're having upcoming playtests, can you talk a little bit of a little bit about accessibility, right, into Uldor? Like, I know you guys are in a few launchers and platforms, but can you talk for anybody that's new and that's looking to play? How can they get their hands into Uldor? Is it difficult to get into it? Do you need to own any assets? That type of stuff.
Yeah, so the current mode that Mizzy's showing right now is it's open for anyone to play. It's on Hyperplay, Elixir, and Sedona game launchers. We do plan a future playtest of our PvP. It probably won't be open to everybody because we want to have a really kind of like selective playtest where we get some really quality feedback. But we definitely want to make sure that people that have played Uldor before, they're in on that. People that are in our community. So we definitely want it to be accessible, but we don't want to necessarily have a bunch of random people that have no idea who we are get in there and start giving us feedback. That's not necessarily what we're looking for.
Get good, noobs. Get good.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, listen, if you guys want to try Uldor, I definitely recommend going into Elixir or Hyperplate. And trying at least the arena right here is gonna, I promise you, it's not gonna disappoint. It's definitely really fun, and you're going to most likely rage a lot.
Oh my god, dude, this shit! Like every time I play Uldor, I forget how hard it is. I'm always like,
dude,
it always
I'm
makes me
glad,
feel like such a shitty gamer.
dude. I'm glad to see you playing it right now on the podcast and not me, because I'll be raging already. Like, so
I'm
definitely.
trying to keep it chill, man. I've almost screamed a couple of times.
No, man, definitely, guys, definitely go try it out if you haven't. I definitely recommend it. So let's talk a little bit about the launchers that you guys are on, right? Because you mentioned you're on Hyperplay, Elixir, and what was the third one you mentioned?
Sedona.
Sedona. I haven't heard of Sedona. Where's Sedona? Like, who are they working with? Do you know, like, any other titles and stuff that they have there?
So they're an early launcher. I don't know. Like I don't know if they've made announcements, but like I know like one of their co-founders, Mikkel, who she was at GDC, but she puts on a lot of Twitter spaces, but she'll
Okay.
yeah. You guys know Mikkel.
Yep.
So she's one of the co-founders of Sedona. But we honestly went with them because they are supportive of the space. They're always like hosting spaces, showing up in spaces. They're very like lifting others up and not like just shilling themselves. And so we wanted to kind of like show the love back and be one of their like early games that would be on their launcher.
Yeah.
Love
But-
that, man.
I mean, listen, that's the reason I wanted to bring it up, right? Because we talked about this a couple of episodes ago where we were mentioning, like, I'm personally a big fan of the platforms are like more Web3 native or Web3 niche, right? With their like dashboards and stuff like that, and their integration as well, right? So I'm a big fan of Elixir, Hyperplate, and the way they're doing things. Versus when a game in Web3 gets with like someone like Steam or Epic, right? Because yes, they're a great platform and they do offer that trustability that we were talking about earlier. But when it comes to pushing the games forward, the UX doesn't do a great job at like putting that anywhere in the homepage or like the actual like search bar. It's really difficult sometimes to find Web3 games in those platforms. You don't know what to put in the title because sometimes you put the name of the game and there's another video game that has a similar game that comes up, So you're like, where do it's really hard to find, right? So with Hyperplay and Elixir, they do a great job at putting games like Uldor right up in the main page, in the homepage, right? And it's like the first thing you log in. I remember in Elixir, when you pop up Elixir, one of the first titles you see is Uldor, right? Like in the coming soon category. So that's easy to find. I see it right there in front of my face. I'm gonna try to get involved with it and check it out, most likely, right? So I wanted to get your opinion on like what is your take on like the difference between approaching being on Epic and Steam versus working with like platforms like Hyperplay and Elixirs, who continue to get a lot of good investment from reputable companies, right? And continue to accelerate their pivot into being one of those platforms that offer accessibility to games.
Yeah, we're in this funny place in the like Web3 space where the investor base, like the users who are buying your tokens and buying your NFTs for speculative, they think it's going to go up in value. Like they like to see big announcements. They like to see you're partnered with
They're
AWS.
all about announcements.
They like to see you're partnered with Epic Games. You're partnered with whoever. So like the bigger the name, the better the the news is, and the more it affects the value of all your assets. Whether or not those things actually are partnerships or whether they mean anything for you long term. I think the idea is that Steam has discoverability, that Epic has discoverability, but when you really look at it, Steam, it has discoverability if you're either lucky or you spend a lot of time and money to optimize for their algorithm. Epic, similarly, like they have discoverability if you have the right kind of setup going into it. Now, to your point, like, yeah, it does have that trust factor. When you have a Web2 gamer and they don't know anything about Web3, but they see your gameplay and they say, this looks really cool, I want to go try this game out. If the launcher that you're sending them to, they've never heard of, and it's getting them to like create a wallet when they first download it, like that's going to be a problem. So yeah, it does have that factor going for it. But I think long term, you're going to get better discoverability from Hyperplay, from Elixir, from other launchers that are Web3 focused, because as users get onboarded into Web3, I think they're going to be looking for Web3 games that they like. I think about it like Battle Royale. Like Battle Royale is a genre where, it kind of sounds terrible on paper. It's like, all right, you're going to join this game, and the first time you die, you're just out, for the next 10, 20 minutes or whatever. You can't play anymore. You've got to go start a new game. But like if you make it and you're the last one standing, like you win the game. Well, once you play the genre and you like it, now you're searching for Battle Royale games. It's like, all right, I want to try like other Battle Royales. I want to see like, what would this be like if it's a shooter? What would this be like if it's melee, So I think that Web3 is going to be like that, where you play a good Web3 game that does NFTs or tokens in a thoughtful way. And it's like, okay, I get this, I want to accumulate things and collect things and, be able to buy and sell things. Then you're going to be kind of like red pills. You're going to be onboarded and you're going to be looking for Web3 games, and you're not going to really find those on Steam. That's not going to be a great experience. So
he says red pill with the Matrix sign behind the logo.
maybe Epic will be the one that wins there, but I don't think we should put all our eggs in that basket. I think Hyperplay, Elixir, these other launchers that are really investing in this space, I think they have a good chance to really benefit from a big wave of new gamers coming here.
So
Yeah,
go ahead, Hado. Go ahead, Hado.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that the one way they should continue, and I think Elixir started this already with the partnership program, where they had a bunch of creators that were verified partners that you could trust, right? Well, the same way Twitch, sometimes people get bounties and they get a game or a product they have to show off in front of a large audience or whatever. The same thing should happen for launchers, in my opinion, because that's going to give discoverability that people are looking for, not only for the game, but also for the launcher as well, because now people are going to be flooding into these launchers like, oh, there are other launchers that have tons of games I've never seen before in Web3, and Clouds for the win brought me here. I trust Clouds, right? So I'm going to go play all these games
man.
now.
That's a little. I don't know, man. That's a little sus. You trusting Cloud?
No, listen, I agree with Graslo's take 100%, man, right? Like see a lot of more discoverability coming into platforms like Hyperplay and Elixir, right? At least for Web3 native games. I'm not saying it's impossible to achieve that for a Web3 game in Epic, for example. We saw, I think Nine Heroes is a game that's doing really well.
Yeah, I was gonna
Epic,
say,
right?
what do you think? What do you guys think about these games that are like essentially using their airdrop farm to? I don't want to use the term bot, but let's call it for what it is. They're cheating the system, right? Like, to a degree. I mean, all is fair in love and war. I'm not saying anything wrong. I love Nine Heroes, but me personally, like everyone's like, oh, they're fifth in the Epic launcher. It's like, well, duh, they're running a whole fucking airdrop campaign around it. Like,
but also I want to make
of
sure
course
people
they are.
understand that I also love Nine Heroes. It's been like my fruit for the past month, right? Because I've been looking for a freaking shooter in Web3 for so long. But it's just a wish list, by the way, too, guys. The game is
Yeah.
not available yet. It's not it's not fully developed. This is just people wishing to play the game and like saying, yeah, when this comes out, I'm interested in playing it. It's a completely different story when they actually do hit the market and people are actually judging the full experience in there, right? Like Missy said, there's an airdrop going on right now. We don't know how much of these numbers are skewed. There's people that use multiple accounts sometimes, right? Like we don't know exactly where this real number lies with the wish list and how that's going to affect where they lie in Epic later on when they do come to the market and the public, right? But I think it's a great game right now, but there's definitely a lot of things they need to focus on and still fix and work on, right? But I agree with your take on that, Missy. I don't know, like, if that's the best example as to like saying, like, yes, this is possible, to be on Epic and reach this level of discoverability for every game that we're developing out there in Web3, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like, and also not to mention that Web3 games always run the risk of Epic saying, like, yo, like, we're no longer supporting the vision you have here, like the integrations you want to do. I think it was Gus and Shane that got removed from Epic after they made their announcement because something was wrong with their agreement that they thought they were going to like be allowing users to, I don't know, something about the NFT, right? But like it's as easy as that to get your game removed from there, and all of that marketing, all of that work just goes out the window at that point, right? Like, so
I mean, multi-distribution is the way to go for sure, but we also got to consider when we're talking about this rare use case, this rare case study of Nine Heroes, who has over 500,000, or I think it's like 600,000 right now. So they're on their way to 1 million followers on Twitter, right? So they've been doing campaign after campaign after campaign. So this is like a compound effect after doing massive amount of campaigning and then putting your game on the Epic Store and then collaborating with, Overwatch people, really. That's what you're getting here. So it's definitely possible. But again, like you guys are saying, it takes a lot of work, right? So I think the future is going to be multi-distribution. I don't like even when I think it was Call of Duty was like, or not Call, sorry, it was EA. EA was like, we're gonna make Origin, and then they made all their games leave Steam and go to Origin. And people were like, I don't want to play EA games on PC anymore. And they're like, oh shit, maybe we should bring it back to Steam because people don't want to download our launcher. So again, multiple methods of distribution, I think, is the future because EA eventually just made a thing called EA Play. And that's how they say, well, you can play games on Steam, but you got to play it on EA Play or play it through EA Play. So boom.
Yeah, I think you guys are all right. I would just really, think about, especially where we are today in Web3, about platform risk. I definitely agree with that multi-distribution because, like for now, it's, Epic could change their policy at any time. And also, some of these new launchers, I mean, they're all startups. So they could decide that the business model isn't for them. So if you're like only working with one launcher, they may just close up shop and then you've got to figure out something else quick and then you've lost your, distribution platform. So you're kind of starting from scratch. So yeah, I think multi-distribution.
Yeah, to your point, Fractal. To your point,
yeah, just thinking out loud, like I do question how valid the launcher business is in Web3 personally. Like when I start running numbers, when I start thinking revenue, the funding's amazing. I always question like how scalable is it from a revenue perspective, right? Like I think it would be really cool, and anyone that's in the chat and you're like maybe thinking of a business plan or some shit, I don't know. Like it would be really cool to see a launcher and a streaming platform like combined. Because I feel like then you're providing like direct distribution to the games on your streaming platform, right? And I think we've seen like a lot of people attempt streaming platforms in Web3 and they haven't necessarily like played out yet. Um, and I feel like we're in this war of these launchers right now in Web3. Because I mean that it isn't a war, but it is, right? Like Elixir, Hyperplay, like they're all going for the same mind share. So to me, it's like if you want to distinguish yourself, I don't know, maybe throw a stream together, or like a stream platform that goes with the launcher. And now it's like these games on our launcher are being streamed on our platform, and maybe they're guaranteed more to be on the homepage or some shit. Like I don't know. I think it'd be cool to see that happen.
That has happened with Steam. Steam does have like a native streaming platform. So just copy the Steam model and do it better, I guess.
I'll throw another business model out there just to make a conglomerate here. Questing platforms, you know, where you kind of like reward players and they own their data and all of that. I feel like something like that could integrate into a launcher pretty well.
Yeah, that would be cool actually. That's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean it's similar to like achievement hunting, right? Like players love that, man, and I think I agree with you. I think that could be a very easy tool that people can figure out how to integrate into launchers. But what I agree with the most is not marrying to just one launcher or like one space, right? Like utilize. I think something we advise a lot of games and like people that we're in touch with is like take advantage of the fact that there's no exclusivity right now, you know, and basically no one is really asking for exclusivity when you're working with them, and try to get your popularize your game or your product that you're doing as quickly as possible, right? Because you never know, like you said, Graslo, you never know when someone is going to decide to either say, hey, like this is not working out for like the business model we want to approach anymore, let's shift gears, or you know, changing their policies and not wanting to work with that sector or niche anymore. There's too much risk involved with that, so like definitely take advantage of the fact that there's no exclusivity and you can work with multiple launchers or like platforms or whatever the case may be. Now before we move forward and get into like some news in gaming that's been happening in the space this week, Graslo, I did have one last question about Uldor for you. Obviously we know that there's like an open world, like bigger game, right? Like a bigger MMO sector for Uldor, and then there's the PvP side of things, right? How are you guys as a team kind of differentiating the demand of what players want, right? And shifting focus to just that sector. For example, if players are looking more forward to playing the PvP side versus playing like the MMO or open world side where they can focus more on like questing or adventuring or whatever it is, right? How are you guys like differentiating that? Because I feel like that's kind of important for a team, right? Because that's where your money's going to go towards, to your focus, your marketing, right? So how are you guys working with that differentiation?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think what we're doing right now is building for the customer that we want, like building for the player base that we want to attract. And we have a core community that has been super supportive. And, you know, thankfully, they're not demanding certain things from us. Now, is a lot of excitement for the open world. Like a lot of people say, like, when can we play the MMO? But, you know, they understand that, like, we've been putting out this narrative from the start, which is, we're building this game in phases. And what we want to do is build with PvP as our first commercial launch, then bring you into an open world, but it's PvP in the open world. So instead of having the questing, the dungeons and all of this, you know, the cities and all of this content, like it's a persistent faction-based PvP system. And then we bring out the full open world. This allows us to really build the game with super high quality, build it at scale, you know, starting with something small and continuing to scale on top of that. But also we build for the same problem that I mentioned early on, which is MMOs didn't adapt, and they don't really appeal to like casual and competitive gamers because you really only draw in the user base that already loves MMOs. We are going to have that front of our funnel, like the first thing that you see is PvP. And then we'll be able to draw people into the faction versus faction PvP. And then we draw you into the full open world where you become an MMO degen and you didn't.
Let's go. I just want good MMO PvP, man. It's my favorite part of MMOs. Like, I love raiding. I've done it all, but PvP is always where I feel at home.
No, and personally, I just love the answer of what you said, that you guys are building for the gamer base that you want inside your game. You get me? So that's awesome, man. Because I agree with you. I think if you build towards a PvP, gamer group, right? Like people that enjoy PvP, like Missy, for example, right? In MMOs, then you're just building upon that, right? And like as you continue to work on the faces of the game and unlock them for the public, right? Then it's just like, oh, there's a new update for Uldor, and then I walk into that side of things, whether it's faction war or whatever it is, right? And I'm like used to it because it's already PvP, but just in a bigger format and a bigger environment, right? Like there's more to do. So I love the idea of just working on a product that is constantly being updated, rather than like, things like, oh, I'm going to develop a DLC for it and that's going to include that experience, right? Like so I think that's awesome that you guys are focusing on that, and I'm excited for the PvP, man. I think that's great that we're getting that first, because I get to, beat Missy and Hado up a little bit inside Uldor. I do have the most
Okay,
experience in the
good
game.
luck.
Hey,
Good
listen, I've
luck
been
to
playing
you,
it.
man.
I've been playing it the
Good
longest,
luck
bro.
to you with that shit, bro. You're entering my world now.
I know, man. We may
Man, you
have to
play
bring it on.
FPS games, bro. What do you know?
Listen, bro. That is PvP, bro. That is PvP. Hello.
bro. I've been PvPing MMO since I was in the 5th grade. Good luck
That's
to
okay,
you,
bro. I'm a Hado, bro. You're not gonna just disintegrate me with one hit, all right?
I didn't get
Listen,
disintegrated. That's not what happened.
anyways. But I just personally love it, man. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Maybe we should have it on Rec, Missy, and like just have fun.
Oh, it's gonna be on Reg, man. It's gonna be on Reg.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Uldor is gonna be on Reg a lot. I love that show. We had a lot of fun, but it's gonna be on Rec a lot because I just feel like it's a good game for us to talk a lot of shit about, because ultimately we're both gonna get our ass kicked with how that game works. So at the end of the day, we'll be the joke, but it'll still be fun. Yo, what's good? Hi Mars. Hi Mars in the chat. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Paladins.
I'm getting ready to drop the digital collectible too. I mean, what did I just say? Well,
Hey, listen, let's get into some gamer news that have been happening in the space. But before we do that, Missy, should we drop the little surprise that the chat did?
I'm dropping the surprise, bro. I'm dropping.
All right, man.
I'm getting ready.
Well, I'm gonna
getting
pass
ready.
the mic over to you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well,
Listen,
I mean, I need you to buy me like a minute or two.
Okay. Well,
I'm
listen, this
preparing
man made it to wave 12 so far in Uldor, guys. Let's get some W's in the chat for Messi. The man is surviving somehow as he's doing.
We're hosting shows. We're making it to wave 12. Get at me, man. Dropping a badge. Like, I mean, well, listen, I give you guys maximum effort. Okay, let me get some claps in the chat.
Let's get some fucking claps in the chat, man. Graslo, as Missy's pulling that up and dropping the link in the comments for the bash. I wanted to ask you, this is I guess more of a personal question, right? Because like I said, you've been cooking this idea of Uldor since 2011, right? That's a long time, and that's not even your whole history with just like developing games and stuff like that, right? That's just Uldor itself, right? So if you could go back to 2011 and tell yourself then, right, what would be the biggest thing that you would tell your 2011 self to focus on with Uldor from that moment on, right? Like being of everything you've learned up to 2024 from that moment, right?
Oh, that's tough. I'll tell you, like so while I worked on like lore and game mechanics, like we didn't actually start development until 2021. So like 10 years later. And that's because MMOs are hard. Like they're expensive, they're time consuming, and you really have to innovate to be different. Because I mean, how are you going to compete with World of Warcraft? How are you going to compete with the like 20 popular Korean MMOs? There's so many amazing games being released all the time. You really have to do something special. And so that's why we spent a lot of time like researching, thinking, strategizing, and with Web3 and with UE5, like there are things possible that just weren't possible before. So yeah, I don't know what I would do different. I definitely would have done things differently in 2021. Just knowing the wild swing of the market. Like we went from the best time to raise money for a startup in probably our generation to one of the hardest times to raise money for a startup in our generation. And then on the back of that, we have this big gaming sector kind of rotation. So it's just been wild. Definitely would have went back and raised when money was easy, and just kind of like took the time to build up the team and really deliver an amazing product. But I think we're on a great path now. Like, I think that we kept building through the bear. We stayed bootstrapped and were able to get further along than I think a lot of teams that raised. Like, we were one of the early ones to put out gameplay before a lot of these really well-funded games.
Right.
And
Talk
then
your shit, Graslo. Talk your shit.
and now they're coming back to raise a second round because they maybe put out something, or they haven't put out something, and they're running out of money. That 20 million they raised in 2021, or it's already gone, and they need more. And we didn't have a big raise, so I think we're in a good spot on that respect. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if I could have predicted the market, or hell, just in 2021, I would have said go back and buy Bitcoin. Just buy a lot of Bitcoin. That would have been it.
Buy a lot of Bitcoin to build the
man,
game
smart
of your
man.
dreams, man.
No,
All
I
right,
think.
all right. I dropped it.
Oh shit! All right, my man dropped it. Let's go.
I'm gonna need you to kick my game off the screen real quick, and so you can go and show this baby off.
All right.
Damien. Shout out to Damien. He and I worked extensively on this.
Hold on a second.
And I mean, I'm glad my brother didn't curse me out, because holy fuck, we made a lot of changes making this. But Graslo, you're a dear friend of ours, and we've never dropped a Catalyst Effect badge yet. We designed one specially for you and Uldor in collaboration with Catalyst. So this is the first ever Catalyst Effect badge, and we made a really, really unique custom art piece for it. If Cloud will ever put it on stage,
I'm working on it, my
I'm
brother.
fucking with you, bro. I'm fucking with
I'm
you.
working on it, brother. It's the anticipation. We gotta build the anticipation.
Yeah, because I have it.
We gotta build it. We gotta build it, bro. No, don't take this away from me, bro. I got it.
Oh, come on, man. We're waiting.
Shout out to Damien. I love working on these with him. It's always a blast. But
let's go. That's epic.
Yeah, so we went a little too crazy with the logos here. Like, I criticized that, but honestly, like, I'm obviously inspired by PlayStation.
Yeah. Dude, I think it looks super sick.
That's sick.
The zombie king.
We put him on a throne, and then we put a shirt of him sitting on a throne. Like, we put a graphic of him sitting on a throne in his shirt.
I didn't notice the first is the same.
Yeah.
Bro, that's funny.
We made it's a separate graphic of him sitting on a throne. It's like completely different. Like,
he's more green, and he's holding the sword.
And then we put like the the Uldor logo in the graphic in the shirt, and then we put the Catalyst logo in Uldor style under the graphic. So we wanted to be like, hey, what does a streetwear collab between like Uldor and Catalyst look? And that was it. Shout out Damien, man. Fucking kills it every time.
Shout outs to Damien, man. That looks sick, guys. Make sure you guys are minting the badge that following the link that Missy put in the comments. Make sure you guys go there and claim it. It's gonna be a free mint, so make sure you guys are collecting these. These are gonna have a purpose later on that Missy's going to reveal soon, but not yet. And by the way, man, I would definitely cop that. Is it a hoodie that he's wearing, like a shirt, whatever it is?
It's a shirt,
yeah, I would cop that design for sure, man.
Yeah, so these are gonna play a big part into what we're gonna do at Catalyst. Each one of these will be potentially redeemable for something of some sort. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but we wouldn't be dropping them all over the place if it weren't for no reason. We don't do it just to have cool art and badges, even though like name any other fucking Oregon Web3 gaming doing this. But there is going to be a purpose, and I can't wait to reveal that purpose.
All right, you heard it here, man. Make sure you guys are collecting the badges. We're going to be dropping these every week. Every time we go live, we're going to have one of these going on. Or are we only going to do them when we have a guest, Missy? What's the plan for these? Are we going to always have episode,
I mean, I don't know. What do you guys want to do? We can do one for every episode. We could do them for guests only. Let's workshop it right here.
It's up to Damien and you.
Well, yeah, I'll leave it up to Damien, but I think we should do one every episode.
So we'll do one every episode.
Yeah, I think we should do one every episode, and then we just customize the design if we have a guest, based on that.
Yeah, we can do one every episode.
And this
No
is what
problem.
Mizzy calls building in public.
Yep.
Yes,
Hey
sir, yes,
man,
sir.
like a lot of people talk about building public. We make business decisions that
Public.
in public.
That's how it was when we were doing rec the other day, dude. We were
Yeah,
literally just building.
we were literally like doing this show called Rec, and we're still trying to figure out what the show exactly is. And we were like asking the crowd, like, what do you guys think we should do right now? Like, should we add this, change this, move that? And I love building like that. It's honestly, it's so pure and so fun to me.
It's definitely part of the Web3 culture, man. That's what we're all
Yeah.
about. But listen, let's get into some gamer news real quick,
All
guys.
right, can you put my? I'll put my gameplay back on.
Yeah, you can put it back up. So the first one that I wanted to hit you guys up with, right? Obviously, Wilder World has been making a lot of noise into the timeline, right? Like, I think they look awesome. You know, I haven't personally tried it yet. I haven't tried the racer game yet, but I wanted to touch on because they just got on Epic, right? And we were just talking about this. So, what are your guys' thought on Wilder War? And for the chat, if you're listening, you know what Wilder War is. It's a new MMO. What's up?
My initial thoughts is I'm bearish on their marketing team because they hit us up and never answered again.
Damn,
we should clip that and send it to them. And it looks sick as fuck though. Yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah, well, it does look thick as fuck, right? Now, what I was gonna say is, if you haven't heard of Wilder World, it's a AAA multiplayer like MMO experience that's being also developed as a metaverse. And they're just looking to bring different experiences within their metaverse to their players, right? But they're starting out with like a racer game, right? But what I wanted to touch on here is not even the fact that they're going on Epic, which I think is, you know, cool. They're going on Epic. I think it makes sense for them. Triple A game, maybe they had the same type of effect that Nine had, right? Who knows? But that's awesome that they have it easy accessible through Epic. But they're, to me, they look like they're aiming to build like a GTA of Web3, right? And my fear that I've always had with metaverses in Web3 is how long it takes to fill them up, right? And how long it takes to optimize, right? Because you're talking about a massive, massive environment that's going to have all these different experiences within the same world, right? And it's supposed to be interoperable. So I'm gonna start with Graslo because you're on the developing side, Graslo. So I feel like you have some really good intakes on this. What's your thoughts on like teams are attacking their games more as a metaverse and how that looks in the sense of like optimizing it and getting it to a level that multiple player bases can enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I think that the real trouble with like a metaverse and with, you know, some of these like larger experiences, there's like two parts. Like one is they rely really heavily on UGC, which is like it's great. Like as a gamer, like we want to be able to add content, but if the game doesn't have like a core loop that draws you in and is fun to play, then it's just lacking. Like I mean, look at I hate to even name like Decentraland and other like kind of metaverses that have launched, and it's like there's not a core experience that draws you back. You know, it's just like it's a thing and you could build for it, but if there's not already the network effect, there's not already like the players there. It's not Roblox, it's not Minecraft, you know, so or Fortnite, you know. I mean, that's the challenge. But on the other side, I do wonder if AI is going to change this. Are we going to see like bots, you know, AI players kind of replace the problem of not having enough players to play with? And are gamers going to allow that, or are we even going to know that it's happening? That's going to be something that's really interesting in the next few years.
That's a great point to bring up. I didn't even think about the fact how AI could be integrated now into the metaverse side of things, right? And like change the whole perspective of like the player base, how like filled the world looks, right? And I'm also wondering how players are going to react to that, right? Because nowadays, like the CPUs through AI, that you can make them at such a high level, man, that it's literally like you're going against a real player, you know, or like playing with a real player, right? Like the level of difficulties that you can achieve, the level of realism of movements and just like I mean, we've seen it, right? Like where there's games where it's like basically like an AI trainer, so it's literally just learning from your movements, your ways of playing the games, though it's learning from your experience in the game and applying it right to an AI character. So that's a little intense and scary to think about. And I also wonder if it would like affect the player economy within the game, right? Like if you have all this bunch of AI bots like in the game versus like real players. But I'm gonna pass it on to Hado. Hado, what are your takes on this thought on
Yeah,
this point?
now that we're on the topic of AI, to talk about training, couldn't you just, in theory, like make an NPC and just train it to be an NPC? You are now Sir something, and you say this catchphrase, but you talk like this or whatever. It's gonna make game development kind of interesting because you could think outside the box of like how you're building characters in real time. You could just speak it into existence and it would take a persona. So the AI topic is very interesting to me. I love and hate AI because I love the things that it can do and like what it could achieve, but I also am terrified of how powerful it can become. But I do have one question for Wilder World. It looks like Midnight Club to me.
Yep.
All I've seen is gameplay in the dark. Is there a sun in this world? That's my first question.
That is a valid point, man. It does look like I have not seen any daylight at all. You're right.
Yeah. So
the game looks dope. It looks dope. But
it's Wilder World Night Edition or Midnight Club Edition. I'm not sure which one they're going to go with. But
I mean, when
like
you look at their trailer, they show like this cyberpunk world thing, right? Where it's like obviously like there's more than just nighttime. But I find it funny that that's the detail that you're focusing on, which it's really funny to compare to Midnight. What's the game called? Midnight Club, right?
Yeah.
Because all the gameplay in Midnight Club was always at nighttime. There was literally never any sunlight in that game.
Yeah.
But to your point, Hado, I think, you know, with AI, definitely I can see it helping with the PvE side of things, right? And having enough assets within the environment to not make it boring, right? Like where you can, like what you were saying, you can generate an AI CPU where you just give them command. It's like, you're supposed to say this in the game. This is your purpose. This is your role within the environment, right? But honestly, I'm more concerned of the effects that's going to have in the PvP. I'm gonna like the PvP side is scarier because how are players going to react to the fact that okay, you may have an AI that's tough to beat, but it's still not a real person that you're playing against.
Well, the AI,
it's just the metaverse shit. That's all fucking cool. The AI NPCs, that's all fucking cool. Just give me some fucking cars, man. Just let me race, please, for the love of God. Like, add all that other shit after we're fucking racing. All right, just let me talk shit with the homies and let me fucking kick some people's asses on some drifts, and I'm happy. Like, please, just get that part right first.
Look, what I'm talking about when I talk about AI is like, you know how you talk to NPCs in games and like some of them have quests for you to do and to complete and stuff. Well, now instead of like programming these characters to say dialogue and all this stuff, you can kind of like talk to the AI, be like, hey, I want you to do this and I want you to be this character. And then you can kind of replicate that process and it's going to speed up game development entirely, in my opinion, if they could do it correctly, because then you could throw in a bunch of NPCs and quests and stuff to get to that game loop. Because I was going to mention as well, the big problem that I think I forgot who alluded to this, but metaverses have a lack of stuff to do, right?
Oh, that's cloud. That's always cloud.
Yeah, because metaverses, like I remember playing Sandbox and it was like, okay, I can interact with all these things and it's like I'm collecting coins, but there's no actual purpose of me collecting coins, at least that I know of, because I wasn't told to collect the coins. I'm just doing that because that's what I've done all my life. When I see a game, a platformer, you go collect coins, right? And so I think that if Wilder World has a actual main storyline or quest behind it, it will be a successful product because it has some kind of dialogue and storyboard.
Just give me the race.
Yeah, you'll get your racing, but the thing is, if there's no point to these races, if there's no storyline to the race, there's no difference than Asphalt Assault 1 through 5, because then you're just playing a mobile game.
Okay, but my point is, like, why do we need a metaverse for all that? Like, let's just...
Well, we don't need a metaverse, but the story and the questing system that they would put in the game would explain why there's a metaverse. And you could build your experience alongside that. That's what I would be more interested in. But there is no point to all this stuff that we're doing. There's no point to this hat that I just bought that cost me $20 in Ethereum and I can't trade it for a profit. What's the point? There's no point.
I mean, right? I just want races and I want body kits and I want to buy I want to lower my car. I want to design my own car. I want spoilers that don't even make sense. I want to do all the stupid shit that you got to do, man. Like I've worked on cars in real life. Like I'm a fucking gearhead. So before you give me all the metaverse crap, bro, I just want to pimp out my E30 inside this game, man.
But wouldn't you,
man? I agree with that because again, this goes into like having to fill this massive world, right? Like, man, just focus on this cool game that you presented to us, right? Which is this racing game. Give us a great experience with that within that game, and just let us do everything that we can within that game or experience, right? Like customizing our characters, racing our friends, like make that
Yeah,
experience the
man.
greatest it can be, and then focus on filling in a
Like,
massive world if you want to.
create some fucking currency or some shit that like, you know, is technically kind of like a pink slip, so I can say I'm racing motherfuckers for pink slips when I'm wagering on myself. Like give me the fantasy, man. Give me the fantasy. I just want to race.
But let me ask you a question, Mizzy. Do you want to race and have some kind of story and make your name for yourself in this game,
Of
in this
course, of
metaverse?
course, of course.
Then
But
the story
my
is just
point
as
is like,
important as the game itself.
I never said the story wasn't important. My point is we don't need a metaverse to make the story great. Like, I think something that, and you know, we have Graslo right here, so even if he wasn't on this podcast right now, I would actually reference him in this exact moment, and is just build the fucking mode first, man. Like, do the mode right. Give me something to play. Give me something to do. And you know, with racing games, they're simple enough. It's not like you're having to fucking build like a dungeon that people are gonna go through and kill stuff. Like, is it generally like you come up with a few maps and you go racing in them and you have a good time, right? Obviously there's way more to the game development than that, and that is like a dickhead way to say it. But I'm just saying overall, like, before we start going so deep on metaverses, like, there's just a lot that can be done with a few maps and some cars, man, and a real Web3 approach. Because, like, for example, Nitro League, I like them a lot. They featured a car. They're not maximizing their potential because they're so focused on the Web2 users, in my opinion. And it's why I don't push them harder, because they're like so Web2 focused. Like, whenever you try talking to them, they don't really feel like they're willing to budge on the Web2 focus and really embrace the Web3. And that's what makes me a little bearish on Nitro League, even though I enjoy the game for what it is. It's like, it's hard to get people to hype them up in the space because they're so like anti Web3. Just give me a racing game that is like really to the Web3 culture. And you don't, in the metaverse part, like, that can build up, but it buys you so much more time because I feel like we're also starved for something like this. You're right, the storyline is important, and the metaverse aspect would be beautiful, but like, let's just get the core fundamentals down first. Like, if you're gonna be a metaverse, make sure you're a racing game metaverse. Like, I'm so tired of seeing these generic takes on metaverses where people are just like, oh shit, it's an open world and you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, I like how Yaku Corp, for example, you're like an anime character doing flying kicks from across the map and shit, right? Like, stay true to what you are in your metaverse if you're gonna build one, in my opinion.
I think just to wrap up my point on this topic, I just think the metaverse was kind of like a buzzword, just like NFT is a buzzword. It's just a way to identify something, and I think everybody wanted to kind of emulate their best version of Ready Player One when they saw that movie, after they found out they could make, you know, Web3 and gaming. Yeah, exactly. So that everyone's trying to make that version a reality, and metaverse is just an easy way to say, I am making a massive world as well that you can partake in trading and gaming as well. So
metaverse is an easy way to say I need 8 figures in funding.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a buzzword that people use to like attract advertisers and market makers. Honestly.
I think the initial thought of a metaverse too was like a sandbox, right? The initial thought was like, hey, let's build this massive environment where players can build upon and they can create their own experiences. You get me? But then really quickly you find out that when you're marketing this level of big environment in a AAA like design, right? Like, not everybody has the capability or knowledge to add on to experiences at that high level, right? Like, it's not like the sandbox where you can just kind of like buy a piece of land and add on to your brand, or like make something with a developer, right? Like, to have the expectation of like players saying like, hey, invest in this asset, right, to get access to this environment, and then once you're in this environment, it's going to be completely empty and you get to build upon of it. I think that's a silly idea to have, and it's just not going to be possible. You get me? Like,
we love you too, Kobe. We love you too.
Hell yeah, man. Kobe's the man right there. And also to add, I'm more on the side of undersell and over deliver. So if you can figure out how to do that in a metaverse, props to you. And I would love to play that game. You know,
I do have one thing that may be like a hot take here too. So I think that part of I mean, I agree with all of the points you guys are making. I think that that was really like the hype of the cycle. I think there was another aspect of play here too. Early in NFTs, I think there was a lot of thought of, I want, if I'm buying these assets, I want them to last forever. I want them to be part of a larger ecosystem. And that's why the appeal of like MMOs and metaverses is so
Exactly.
strong in Web3. But then we shifted, and now it's like, I want games that are out fast. So I want NFTs in a casual game where it doesn't even make sense to have NFTs. And we're buying those. And I mean, that's my hot take. It's like, I don't know where a lot of these NFTs fit in some of these games that probably have a typical game lifespan of 9 months to 16 months. And then a year from now, you're like, why did I spend thousands of dollars on assets for this, like puzzle game that just, was like a mobile puzzle game that
Pixels.
had
that nobody plays anymore,
Yeah,
like,
right.
exactly.
and the problem with that is that it becomes a collectible at that point, and it's not really like it's not like we've achieved interoperability to a point where I can be like, well, this puzzle game is done, but I can move this asset that I love and adore, and I spend $1,000 on, and move it to this new game, where it's usable and it has a purpose, right? Like, so yeah, I agree with that hot take as well, Graslo, but
It's funny to me because like people talk to me about metaverses. If you played WoW, that was like the first major metaverse. Like it's metaverses aren't new to people that played WoW, and I hate to always sound like a fucking WoW supremacist, but it's true, man. Like it's not new. Like people were getting married inside of World of Warcraft, like for real.
yeah, even like
that ass.
RuneScape.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say it was actually, yeah, like,
Like people were falling in love in WoW and actually having like a role play marriage and shit. Like it was wedding. It was like fucking weird, but it happened, right? And I was like, holy shit! Like these guys are wild, and bro, I was like 12, and I was like, yo, whoa, what is going on, man? Like people were even pretending to be strippers. Like I was on an RP server, obviously. My parents thought it would be safer than the PvP server. Yeah, fucking hell no, dude.
yeah, they had like a black market to sell gold and shit. Like that is not a safe place, bro. Like what the heck?
And MMOs make sense to me when it comes to like interoperability in certain cases. Like, okay, I can take my sword from one game to another game, something like that. Not everything needs to be interoperable. That's just my opinion. Like, it's cool for some shit to just be exclusive in the game. Like me, am I interested in interoperable? Holy shit, this guy looks tough. Am I interested in an interoperable like avatar for my character? Yeah, that would be cool because like Mizzy's a part of my brand at this point, so it's like it would be cool to have him be able to go from one game to the next. It would make my life way easier. But like, I think certain things should just stick to their metaverse or their
IP.
game.
Yeah, I mean, I see your point on that. I also feel like it's important to understand that there's different levels of interoperability. It doesn't always equate to an asset being integrated into another game's IP as a usable item, I feel like collectibles serve a big part of that, like skins. Like Call of Duty is a good example, right? In Call of Duty, you had the skin of the gun, but you also had charms that you could attach to your gun, right? And it's like a little keychain that hangs out of your weapon. How cool would it be? Like, okay, maybe
exactly.
Maybe Missy doesn't serve a purpose in a shooter game if he's coming from an MMO game, but how cool would it be if in the shooter game I had a charm of my Missy character from my MMO, game? That's some type of interoperability that I'm highly interested to see across metaverses or games that would solve the issue that Graslo brought up of like, if I spend $1,000 on this asset, I want to carry that around with me and I want to showcase that everywhere I go. I don't want to just fucking, oh, the game is dead now. This is like pointless. Why the hell did I spend $1,000?
I honestly think like one of the obvious plays that a lot of people aren't using for interoperability is like pets.
Yeah.
Honestly, pets, in my opinion, like if I wanted to build an interoperable business that focused around this type of thing, man, I just create like a fucking gaming pet market because like everyone's gonna want to take their dogs to the one game to the net. Like to me that's like the one piece of interoperability that probably be interoperable like in most places because like who's gonna not want the pet? It's cute.
Dude,
It's
what's that one project that offers you can buy a digital pet to like and you get points by like walking your pet or like interacting with it? It's like an AR game. It's like Dogtopia or something like that. But how cool would it be how cool would it be to just integrate that model into games and now you have your pet that also gets you point in a different project? You get me? Like even something like that could be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I really
And-
think they should do some kind of like metaverse integration with some marketplaces too, because you get a lot of liquidity with the training there. Like, so I don't know how accessible APIs are for OpenSea or whatever, but or Magic Eden, but to have a game that is the gamification of actually trading these assets in a metaverse would make, I think, it go way more mainstream than it is, because now you're doing it in a social environment. Think if you could do it, I hate to throw this word out here, but think if it was in VR chat, right? And you could just like show off your NFTs and stuff and trade them there. Like, to me, that's where they need to go. It's like where the liquidity is, source that liquidity, partner with them, use an API, do something to integrate those marketplaces into your game loop in some way, or not game loop, but into your metaverse universe. Because then you're just going to be able to gamify the entire experience of trading NFTs. So I think that's something that I don't think that's been explored, right?
Not to my knowledge.
I'm not
Not to my
sure.
knowledge. Yeah.
And yeah, shout out Heimar's Black
I was
Market
gonna call
wedding
him out, bro.
invitation.
We're gonna see the first Web3 wedding coming from Mars, and also like you may receive your invitation through a black market system.
Yo, we should do James' wedding. He has a fiance. We should do James' wedding in a metaverse. Heimars, let's troll him.
Oh my God.
Shit. Heimars, I know Jave isn't gonna be here right now, right? So like we should definitely troll him and tell him that we're gonna throw him like a metaverse like bachelor party.
Listen,
or
man,
some shit.
we can set up a spatial. We can set up a spatial, get ourselves a bachelor pad, and like just do a bachelor party for him.
Yeah. And then Kobe, why monkeys? I don't fucking know, bro. People, I guess because they're like very reflective to humans. Like they're very comparable to humans. I've never understood the monkey
It's
fetish.
because when you go in, you ape in. That's the whole
Oh,
thing.
that's true.
Bro.
Yeah, I get it.
Ape
I get it. I forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, you do ape in, but I don't know. Like
I feel like
we've had enough monkeys.
Yeah, I feel like everybody wants to associate themselves with Bored Ape. They just want that
recognition of the IP. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a popular IP that's now trying to integrate themselves into every sector out there. But listen, man, I don't care how pretty you make the environment. I saw the trailer for Other Side. I don't care how pretty it is. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't give me any dopamine. Like
that shit is badass.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't have said it better. I just said, like, listen, no offense to anybody that enjoys that. I just don't think it would give me any type of dopamine when I'm playing that environment. You get me? I don't have any type of relationship to it. I don't find any relatability to it. So like, I wouldn't find myself playing that. But I think Hado was just defending it because he has the whole Monkey King thing going on in his ass or nothing, which is pretty funny if you haven't seen it. the monkey spirit thing that you bring up. But listen, we're coming up to close to 2 hours. And this has been a incredible episode. Graslo, thank you once again for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate your time, and always interesting to get your intakes on topics and things like that, because you're someone that I respect, man, when it comes to like your opinion on the space and like how you're building out. So definitely thank you for being here with us, and to everyone in the chat listening, thank you guys as well for being here. Before we close this out though, let's get into some games that we've been playing, man. Anybody have a game of the week that they want to bring up? I'm gonna toss it to my man Missy, who's already playing games in the screen. But Missy, what's been your game of the week?
I mean, I would be lying if I said anything outside of Nine Heroes. Like, honestly, I'm enjoying the shit out of playing Uldor right now, though. Like, I'm feeling very accomplished, and I'm sitting on the 13th wave.
Let's go.
I gotta start training so that I'm ready to roll for the PvP, when that comes out. But yeah, Nine Heroes, bro. Like, I've spent about, I think I'm getting close to 120 hours on the game since March 6th. So in 25 days, I spent way too much fucking time playing that game. And I'm pissed off that like the one gripe I do have is because I played most of it before the airdrop campaign. Like a lot of it doesn't even reflect onto the leaderboard, which is kind of annoying. But we grind. We'll make our way up the leaderboard again. But yeah, definitely Nine Heroes.
Yeah, leaderboard is getting a little bit tougher to climb it up.
And it's starting. It's been interesting seeing the metas develop, but I'm gonna let everyone else go because I'll probably end up talking too long about it.
All right, Hado, I'm gonna toss it to you, man. What's been your game of the week?
I have two, And I know I'm breaking the
Ooh,
rules, but I don't give a
breaking
fuck.
the rules already.
I don't give
Rule
a fuck.
breaker. All right.
First one obviously is 9 Heroes. I've been playing that in secret. And by what I mean by in secret is like when everyone's asleep, I am playing.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it's not a secret if you tweet about it every day.
Well, I'm playing when everyone is sleeping, so
I feel you. I feel you.
Because I'm the night shift.
So how
or
are the
overnight
lobbies?
shift.
How are the lobbies at that time? By the way, because
They're full.
I mean, he's getting MVP, so they must be pretty
No,
easy.
I know they're gonna be full, but I'm just. I was gonna say I know they're gonna be full, but I meant like difficulty wise, because man, I feel like sometimes you run into some bots. And
Yeah, he's definitely getting them bot lobbies.
Look, I've run into games at night where everyone knows what they're doing, and I run into games where people are not doing the right thing at all, right? And I think this is where I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. And this is to the 9 Heroes.
Oh, God, here we go.
Communication is key in team gameplay, okay? So we have no way to chat to our teammates. There's no text chat, and there's no voice
early
chat.
build.
And there's no mini map, and there's no
I'm not even complaining about the mini map. That's fine. I actually don't need the mini map. The maps are very small. The thing that we need is communication and marking, because whenever your team, let's just say hypothetically, you're a new player. I don't know what's going on. There's a bunch of robots around. I think we're cats or whatever. Cool. What do? Well, there's no one to tell you what to do. Unless you're in your homie's Discord, you don't know what to do. So they need objective,
it's good feedback, but your solution right here, right now, is just play earlier so you can play with the homies, Because
exactly,
we squad up, my guy. We squad up. We don't have that issue,
That's
communication.
That's because he likes the bot lobbies, bro. He likes the bot lobbies.
I'm not talking about me. We're not talking about me.
It's because he gets accused of team killing, or not team killing, stealing kills every time he plays with us. But
okay, again, we're not talking about
by the
me.
way,
I'm talking about the game.
Bushi has an event incoming. So maybe for the next Wrecked episode, you can get your revenge on me, Cloud.
Nah, man, you're right. I don't know if I'm gonna make that type of bet again. I already have to make a video and fix those. That's gonna be painful, man. That's gonna be painful.
So Graslo, you want to hear what happened?
Wait.
Oh, here we go. Bro, you're taking up too much time. You're taking too much time.
Bro, I barely talked this episode.
You got 30 seconds, man. You got 30 seconds.
Battlefield 2042. Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
No, I'm kidding.
I had more to say, but apparently I can't talk. So
no, bro, go ahead. Battlefield 2042. What about this boomer game do you want to share with us?
Nothing. It's a good game.
Well, listen, the only thing I like about Battlefield 2042 is the fact that they integrated all the Bad Company maps and all the older Battlefield assets into it, which made the game a lot more enjoyable than that zip line bullshit, whatever.
That's exactly why I got it.
Yeah,
but the game.
Last time I played Battlefield, I couldn't get many servers going. But are you finding it different now, Hato?
Well, 2042 is populated.
Yeah.
The old games are dead.
You gotta do the custom server search thing, because everybody's playing the older maps. Since they integrated all the older Battlefield maps and stuff, that's what everybody plays. Nobody's playing the actual 2042 maps and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually seen more population in the old maps on 2042 than the current game, so it's kind of funny how that worked out. But it's really nostalgic for me, and it's just such a it's chaotic, bro. It's just people running around yelling and just shooting explosions left and right.
That's a game. Talk about no communication. That's a game that nobody communicates on unless you know the squad that you're on. Because if you don't know the squad you're on, it's not like people are using the party chat things. Everybody's using a private party or something.
Everyone's yelling at each other in that game.
Oh yeah,
just like Call of Duty.
Revive me. No, but that's a cool game, man. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Graslo, before I ask you for no, actually, I think we touched on what you were saying before when Missy was talking about his game. But what's your game of the week, brother?
So I've been so busy, I haven't been gaming. I am definitely going to have to get into 2042 though, because I'm a huge Battlefield fan, and I did I bought it, downloaded it. It was a while after it came out, and I tried to play, and I just couldn't get any good servers. It seemed dead at the time, so I was just really disappointed. But I'm pumped that I can go get into some. I love the old maps, because I mean Battlefield 3 and 4, that was peak Battlefield for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been watching everybody play 9 Heroes, so I definitely want to try that one too.
Yeah, Nine Hero has definitely been taking the spotlight on the timeline, but maybe we can see some Hado and Graslo taking over 2042. That would be some cool gameplay right there. And I'll join you guys on
Yeah.
that, man, because I love Battlefield as well too. 2042 was like kind of like a flop. I feel like the main issue that Battlefield always has to compete with, they come out most of the year, they come out in November, or at least they used to. Or no, in January, sorry. And then that's like right after Call of Duty releases, and they always get murdered by the Call of Duty like release, right? Like the sales, like they just don't generate that population in the game. And that game in particular, I think they just went too big. They had really high hopes for like the futuristic style, like environment and stuff like that.
And tons of glitches, tons
Tons
and
of
tons.
glitches, exactly. Like you couldn't use half of the tools that they had integrated because they would glitch out or whatever,
Yeah.
So like it just never, it didn't get the hype that it needed, and it didn't survive. But well, I think what they do great is utilizing their previous assets and integrating that into their new like servers and allowing players to still enjoy that. So it's really cool to see it populated again, and it's better than
All right.
Battlefield.
All right.
was
So
like,
since Hado got to take so long, I'm going to talk about Nine Heroes,
I
and
haven't
I'm
said
going
a
to talk
word in
about.
like 2 minutes. But all right.
You got to take so long talking about your two games. Clouds, we're going to talk about your game, and then I want to talk about Nine Heroes.
no, you know what? I'm just gonna pass the floor to you for Nine Hero because my game is Nine Hero as well. That's all I've been playing.
Okay. So, for those of us that have been playing the game, which is basically everyone here except for Graslo, and bro, you're welcome to game with us whenever. Just let us know. We'll get a lobby together for you. So we've kind of seen a bunch of metas start playing out, which has been interesting, right? Like when we first started playing the game, we saw everyone running Ghost, and that was cool. Then we kind of saw a meta start to form with the tank and the AR, and now we're starting to see a really big Spartan meta. Like I've noticed that a lot of people are switching to Spartan as their main. Like Hado's always played Spartan, but like a lot of people are starting to switch to Spartan as their main because the ult is so good for like zone control over the objective. So it's like we've already gone through like 3 metas, and the game hasn't even been around for that long. So it's been kind of interesting. I'm just happy to see fucking metas start to form, man. Like, what's up?
I was just gonna add that I do see those people are just exploring the games. I think it's what it is, right? Because I don't see that game out. First of all, I don't see a meta in this game where it's just gonna be one character. It's gonna come down to team composition a lot because you can't win the game just based off one character. Like if everybody's using Spartan, for example, your team is not most likely not.
Oh, I just meant like with top players. That's really what I meant. Like,
no, I get what you're saying. Like that's what I'm saying. Like people are exploring like the characters right now and finding their main. But I'm really interesting to see the meta when they form once team composition is like a factor, right? And you're playing like rank play and stuff like that. Because this game is heavily like at least from what we've seen is heavily based on objective. And that's all team composition.
Yeah, and like we've even seen that have 2 metas so far. Because at the Paladins event, we had the team that won was running 2 tanks, 1 Ghost, 1 Spartan, 1 healer. And now a lot of the teams that are like seeming to be more competitive are running 2 Spartans instead of the 2 tanks. So like Spartan is definitely dominating the conversation when it comes to like zone control. We're gonna be hosting like weekly scrimmage events over at Paladins, and like I'm gonna be able to like watch how the metas unfold like week by week. That's like super exciting for me because like when the fuck did we think we're gonna do this over Web3 games? So I'm just happy, to be there at this stage. Obviously I don't take it seriously as like esports. It's competitive gaming. Like we're just having fun. We're having a good time. But yeah, it's been really cool watching like the small narratives build and people like sharing alpha on the characters. Like I don't know, man. It's refreshing to see after essentially just hearing everyone say we need good games or we need gameplay or we need it. Like we're here in real time. We're doing it and it's exciting.
It's also been really cool to see like the different weapons not partner, but like, using different weapons with different characters, how you can be a healer throwing healing grenades, or like when
it's cool.
You can put like a sentry gun and you could equip like a sniper to it or a rocket launcher or machine gun, whatever you want. So it's a lot of flexibility in like how you want to use those class or the characters as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like team composition is gonna come down to like a T here because you need healers first of all in your squad. That's like a must-have. If you don't have a healer, that you're gonna have a bad time. If you don't have a tank, you're gonna have a bad time. You know, like there's a lot of things that goes into this game other than just getting kills. At least until they add more game modes, right? Like once you have like maybe like a TDM, I can see like doing like full Spartan teams and just doing like an all-out battle, right? Like that would be fun to see. But in the current game mode, like team composition is like key in my opinion. So yeah, I agree with you guys. I think it's really cool to see the metas developing and just having the game that people are talking about. A lot of people are playing, and it just feels like an actual good experience. You know, at least from the shooter side of things. Because like I said, I hadn't found a shooter in Web3 that I was constantly playing and being able to enjoy. So Nine Hero has definitely been very refreshing to the space, in my opinion. But listen, man, this has been an incredible show. 2 hours at the top right now. Graslo, man, again, bro, I can't thank you enough for being here with us. I'm gonna give the floor to you on, before we close it out here, just to let the people know anything you want them to know about Uldor, right? Or anything you have upcoming that's really important that you want them to be aware of or be looking out for. Now's the time to let them know, man. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, guys, thanks so much for having me. Had a blast and would love to come back anytime, like anytime I can hang out with you guys. And I'm definitely gonna look for those lobbies to get with you guys on Nine Heroes and maybe 2042. But for Uldor, so we have a big announcement coming next week. I gave some hints of that earlier, so you guys know it's going to be related to our character creator. But we're really stoked about it. We think it's going to be pretty revolutionary and get some attention. But other than that, like we keep building and we've got our PvP coming soon. We'll be unveiling more of that soon. So yeah, excited for all that we have coming. And we just want to be a part of this space that, you know, is delivering great Web3 games and onboarding mainstream gamers.
Dude, that's amazing. I love it. And again, once again, thank you for being here. We would love to have you anytime again on the show, man, or any of our other shows. Maybe we can have you on Rec one day with us and just do
Oh,
some gaming
hell
with us
yeah.
and have some fun in there, you know. But other than that, guys, I want everyone in here, if you're still here with us, go follow Uldor on all socials, mainly on Twitter. You can find them. It's pretty easy. Uldor, Uldor. And then also get involved with their Discord, man. So that way you're up to date with any announcements or anything they have coming up. And I believe the badge is still up, Missy. Are we leaving it for 2 hours?
Yeah, we got 2 hours. You
All
got
right.
2 hours to get the badge. If you haven't gotten it, forever hold your peace. If you haven't, we're not bringing it back. You can cope, and I will make fun of you if I find out you were here and you didn't get it and you regret it. When you post that comment in like, you know, a few months and you're like, I wish I had minted it, I'm just gonna screenshot it and troll you on the timeline. So just go get it, man.
Listen, man, you don't want Missy trolling you on the timeline, all right? Just go click on the link real quick. Make sure you mint the badge. It's the first one ever for the Catalyst Effect. We're gonna be dropping them every week when we go live. But yeah, guys, it's been a great show. Graslo, thank you so much for being here with us, man. Guys, make sure you check out Uldor on Hyperplay or Elixir. That's the quickest way to get your hands on it. And until then, we'll see you guys on next Sunday here on X. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.